Imagine two students sitting in the same class. Both listen to the same lecture, read the same books, and take the same tests, yet one tops the exam, and the other barely passes. Why? It's not luck. It's not IQ. It's the way they think, plan, and act. There's a hidden code behind how toppers approach learning, a pattern of mindset, habits, and focus that turns ordinary effort into extraordinary results. In this journey, we'll unlock that code, the mental blueprint of toppers, and discover how you can use it to rise, not just in exams, but in every challenge life throws at you. Chapter 1. The Topper's Mindset. Winning starts within. What truly separates toppers from the rest? It's not always intelligence, luck, or background. It's mindset, the invisible force that shapes every action, every decision, and every outcome. Before they ever achieve external success, toppers win an internal battle, the battle of belief, focus, and self-discipline. Toppers don't chase marks, they chase mastery. They don't just study to pass an exam, they study to understand, to grow, and to improve themselves. For them, knowledge isn't a burden, it's a superpower. When others view studying as pressure, toppers see it as preparation for greatness. They don't say, "I have to study." They say, "I get to study." That small shift in language reflects a massive difference in attitude. Their secret is simple. They fall in love with the process, not the prize. Most students make the mistake of thinking success is about the final result, the marks, the rank, the applause. But toppers know that the result is just a reflection of what happens behind the scenes. Their real focus lies in building habits, sharpening skills, and cultivating a mindset that refuses to give up. The power of belief. Every topper starts with belief, not blind confidence, but the deep conviction that they can improve. They don't see their abilities as fixed. If they struggle in math, they don't conclude they're bad at it. They simply say, "I haven't mastered it yet." That one word yet changes everything. It transforms failure into feedback and challenges into opportunities. This mindset is known as the growth mindset, and it's what keeps toppers motivated even when others quit. They understand that the brain is like a muscle. The more you challenge it, the stronger it grows. So, instead of avoiding hard problems, toppers lean into them. They know that discomfort is a sign of growth. While others escape from difficulty, toppers embrace it because they know that's where real learning happens. Effort compounds, like interest. Toppers believe effort compounds, just like money in a savings account. Every focused hour today is an investment in a smarter, stronger version of themselves tomorrow. They know that even if progress seems slow, it's never wasted. A single study session may not make a visible difference, but 100 of them build mastery. They trust the process because consistency always outperforms bursts of last-minute effort. Think of it like planting seeds. You don't see results immediately, but if you water them daily, soon the garden blooms. Toppers water their goals with effort every single day. They also respect time. Instead of cramming for hours without focus, they aim for quality study time, deeply engaged, distraction-free, and meaningful. Every minute counts, and they treat it as sacred. The voice inside their head. If you could listen to the thoughts of a topper, you'd notice something powerful. Their self-talk is empowering. When faced with tough chapters, they don't think, "This is impossible." They ask, "How can I understand this better?" When they fail a test, they don't say, "I'm not smart enough." They say, "I didn't prepare well enough next time, I'll fix it." This inner dialogue shapes their reality. It fuels their motivation and shields them from negativity. They speak to themselves like a coach, not a critic. They understand that the words you repeat to yourself eventually become your truth. So while others drown in self-doubt, toppers rise with self-trust. They might feel fear, confusion, or stress, but they don't let those emotions control them. They acknowledge them, then refocus on what can be done now. Curiosity over comparison. Toppers are curious learners. They don't study just to outperform others. They study to outgrow themselves. They ask questions, explore beyond the textbook, and try to connect ideas from different subjects. This curiosity turns studying from a chore into a game of discovery. It also helps them remember better, because when you understand why something works, you never forget it. In contrast, many students waste energy comparing their progress to others. He's smarter. She studies less and scores more. But toppers don't fall into that trap. Their competition is internal. Every day, they aim to be 1% better than yesterday. Comparison drains energy. Curiosity fuels it. Resilience, the hidden strength. No topper's journey is perfect. They face setbacks, low scores, and moments of doubt like anyone else. The difference is, they bounce back. They understand that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of it. Each mistake becomes a lesson, each disappointment a stepping stone. This resilience comes from one powerful belief: I am responsible for my results. Instead of blaming teachers, exams, or luck, toppers take full ownership. That ownership gives them power, because when you accept responsibility, you also gain control to change things. They practice emotional discipline. They might take a break, reflect, or feel frustrated for a while, but they don't quit. They show up again, wiser and stronger. Discipline, the quiet superpower. While motivation gets you started, discipline keeps you going. Toppers know motivation fades, it's a feeling. Discipline, on the other hand, is a choice. They don't rely on inspiration to study. They build habits that make consistency automatic. Whether they feel like it or not, they follow through. Discipline isn't about perfection. It's about persistence. It's the act of showing up again and again, even when it's inconvenient. Over time, this steady effort builds an identity. I'm someone who keeps promises to myself. That's the mindset of a winner. The calm within the chaos. In a world full of pressure, deadlines, expectations, competition, toppers maintain calm. How? By focusing on what they can control: their effort, their attitude, and their mindset. They practice gratitude, manage stress through breaks or mindfulness, and avoid burnout by balancing work with rest. They know that mental health fuels performance. A tired mind can't produce great results. Their calmness isn't weakness, it's strength. It allows them to think clearly, under pressure, and perform at their best when it matters most. Becoming a topper in your own way. You don't need to be a genius or study 14 hours a day to develop a topper's mindset. You only need to make one choice: to think differently. Start believing that every effort counts. Replace self-doubt with self-discipline. Stop chasing marks and start chasing mastery. Learn because you want to grow, not because you have to. Remember, success doesn't begin with a book or a classroom. It begins in your mind and how you think, feel, and talk to yourself. When your inner world changes, your outer world follows. Winning truly starts within. Chapter 2. Clarity is power planning with precision. If the topper's mindset is the engine of success, then planning is the steering wheel. You can have the strongest motivation in the world, but without direction, it's like running fast without knowing where you're going. Toppers understand this truth deeply. They don't just work hard, they work smart. Every goal, every study session, every day has a clear purpose. Their success isn't accidental, it's designed. While most students wake up each morning asking, "What should I study today?" Toppers already know the answer. Their plan is laid out, not by luck or guesswork, but by thoughtful design. They treat time like currency, precious, limited, and powerful. Every hour has a job, and every day has a structure. Planning gives them control over chaos. It brings focus to their effort and peace to their mind. The secret lies in their approach to clarity. They don't set vague intentions like study hard or cover all topics. Instead, they define exactly what success looks like each day. For instance, a topper won't just say, "I'll study chemistry." They'll say, "I'll revise atomic structure and practice 10 problems from the previous paper." That specificity turns intention into action. This precision helps them move forward consistently, because when the goal is clear, the path becomes visible. And when the path is visible, motivation follows naturally. Confusion is the enemy of progress. Clarity is its best friend. Toppers plan like strategists. They start by setting long-term goals, the bigger picture. Maybe it's scoring a certain rank, mastering a subject, or clearing a competitive exam. Then, they reverse engineer the process. They break that goal into smaller, manageable parts, monthly milestones, weekly targets, and daily tasks. This makes even the biggest goals feel achievable, one small win at a time. They also understand that plans must breathe. Flexibility is part of mastery. Life happens. Unexpected challenges come. So, toppers adjust their schedule when needed without guilt or panic. They see planning as a living process, not a rigid rulebook. If they miss a task, they don't spiral into stress. They simply reorganize and keep moving. Their consistency comes not from perfection, but from adaptability. But planning isn't just about writing timetables. It's about self-awareness, knowing when you're most productive, how long you can focus, and which subjects need more attention. Toppers study themselves as much as they study their books. They observe their energy patterns. Some perform best early in the morning, others late at night. They schedule their toughest subjects during peak focus hours, and easier ones when their mind needs rest. They also use the power of reflection. At the end of each day, they review what worked and what didn't. This simple habit of self-evaluation keeps them improving continuously. While others repeat the same mistakes, toppers learn from every day and refine their approach. This makes their planning sharper with time. Another secret weapon in a topper's strategy is the art of prioritization. They don't treat all tasks equally. They know that not everything on the to-do list contributes equally to success. So, they identify the most impactful topics, the ones that bring maximum results, and focus on those first. This way, even on low-energy days, they make meaningful progress. Toppers also plan for breaks and recovery. They know that the human brain isn't designed for endless productivity. Strategic rest is part of their study system. A short break after deep work resets their focus and prevents burnout. They plan not just when to study, but when to pause. That balance keeps their performance sustainable. When exams approach, toppers already have their revision mapped out. They don't panic or pull all-nighters because their preparation started weeks or months earlier. Each topic has been touched, tested, and revisited. Their calm during exams is the result of thousands of tiny, well-planned steps. Technology often becomes their ally. Some use digital planners, productivity apps, or even simple calendars to track progress. But no matter the tool, the principle stays the same. Clarity drives consistency. When you can see your roadmap, you no longer waste energy deciding what to do next. You just do it. Planning also gives toppers emotional stability. Many students feel overwhelmed not because they have too much to study, but because they don't know where to start. A clear plan removes that anxiety. It transforms chaos into order. Every completed task gives a sense of accomplishment, which boosts confidence and keeps momentum alive. But what truly sets toppers apart is their mindset toward planning. They don't see it as a burden. They see it as a superpower. They know that a clear plan isn't a cage. it's freedom. Freedom from confusion, from procrastination, from last-minute panic. Planning gives them the space to breathe, to think, to live with intention. And yes, sometimes plans fail. Unexpected distractions, fatigue, or bad days happen. But toppers don't let that derail them. They don't throw away the whole plan because of one missed task. They understand the bigger picture. Progress isn't about never falling. It's about rising faster each time you do. So they reset, refocus, and realign. In the end, the topper's secret isn't just hard work. It's structured hard work. Every success story you see in the spotlight was built in the quiet hours of preparation, behind color-coded notes and carefully crafted schedules. Clarity isn't just about knowing what to do. It's about knowing why you're doing it. And that sense of purpose is what turns ordinary students into extraordinary achievers. So, if you want to think and plan like a topper, start with one simple step. Write down your next goal clearly. Then, break it into smaller, specific actions. Review it daily. Adjust when needed. Let every study session have a purpose. Because when your vision is clear, your effort becomes powerful. And when you plan with precision, success stops being accidental. It becomes inevitable. Chapter 3. The Science of Deep Focus. In a world overflowing with distractions, focus has become the rarest and most valuable skill. Every beep, every notification, every scroll steals a piece of your attention, and with it, your potential. Toppers know this better than anyone. They don't just study more, they study better. Their secret weapon isn't magic, it's mastery of focus. They've trained their minds to dive deep, to tune out the noise, and to enter what psychologists call the flow state, where time disappears and learning becomes effortless. For toppers, focus isn't something that just happens. It's something they build deliberately. They treat their mind like an athlete treats the body, with discipline, warm-ups, and rest. They understand that concentration is a muscle. The more you train it, the stronger it gets. The less you use it, the weaker it becomes. That's why they guard their attention fiercely, because they know where focus goes, energy flows, and results grow. When a topper sits to study, it's not a casual act. It's an intentional ritual. Their desk is clear, their phone is away, their mind is alert. They aren't half studying while half watching a video or checking messages. They create an environment that tells the brain it's time to work. This mental preparation signals the brain to shift into a state of alert learning. But how do they stay focused for long periods? The answer lies in structure and rhythm. Toppers don't force their brain to study endlessly. They study in cycles of peak concentration. One popular method is the Pomodoro technique, 25 to 50 minutes of intense focus, followed by a short break. During that window, there's no multitasking, no daydreaming, just total engagement. These sessions, repeated consistently, build incredible mental endurance. They also understand the difference between being busy and being focused. Many students sit for hours with books open, but learn little because their attention is scattered. Toppers, on the other hand, can achieve more in one focused hour than others do in 4 distracted ones. That's the power of deep work. It multiplies your productivity by magnifying your attention. Focus begins before studying even starts. Toppers plan what they'll do in each session. This prevents indecision and wandering thoughts. When they sit down, they already have a target. I'll solve 5 physics problems, or I'll revise 1 biology chapter. That clarity gives direction to their focus and stops the mind from drifting. They also manage their digital environment strategically. Notifications are silenced, social media is out of reach, and often, they study in airplane mode. Some even use apps that block distractions during study hours. They know that one message or alert can break 20 minutes of deep concentration. Toppers don't rely on willpower. They design their surroundings to make focus easier. But focus isn't just about eliminating distractions. It's about building engagement. Toppers make learning active. They don't read passively. They question, summarize, visualize, and teach back what they've learned. When you engage with the material, your brain treats it as important and stores it better. This active involvement turns study from a chore into a challenge, and the brain loves challenges. Another trick toppers use is to link their subjects emotionally. Instead of thinking, "I have to study chemistry," they frame it as, "I'm learning how matter works at its core." By attaching curiosity and meaning to the topic, they make focus natural. Passion fuels persistence. When you enjoy what you do, focus follows automatically. Physical well-being also plays a role. Toppers respect their brain's biology. They know that sleep, nutrition, and hydration directly affect concentration. A tired or hungry brain can't stay sharp. That's why they prioritize rest and eat brain-friendly foods like fruits, nuts, and water-rich meals. They also take mindful breaks, stretching, walking, or breathing deeply to refresh their mind between sessions. Music and environment often act as subtle enhancers. Many toppers study with instrumental music or white noise to drown out distractions. Others prefer silence. The key is consistency. Using the same environment or sounds can train the brain to enter study mode automatically. It becomes a conditioned response, a mental cue that says, "It's time to focus." Even with all this, toppers aren't immune to distraction. They just recover from it faster. When their mind wanders, they gently bring it back without guilt or frustration. They understand that focus is about returning to the task again and again until it becomes natural. This self-awareness is what separates them from others who give up the moment concentration slips. Toppers also manage their mental energy throughout the day. They know that focus has limits. The brain can't stay at peak performance forever. That's why they tackle the hardest subjects when their energy is highest, usually in the morning or after a break. Easier or repetitive tasks are saved for low-energy hours. This alignment of energy and effort maximizes their efficiency. Sometimes, they enter what's called the flow zone, that magical state, when you're so absorbed in what you're doing that hours pass without noticing. This happens when the challenge perfectly matches your skill level, not too easy to bore you, not too hard to frustrate you. Toppers engineer this balance by gradually increasing the difficulty of their work, keeping their mind engaged and growing. But perhaps the greatest secret of all is how toppers protect their attention outside of study too. They choose what to feed their mind, the people they spend time with, the content they consume, the thoughts they entertain. They know that a distracted life creates a distracted mind. So they keep their inner world clean, positive, and purpose-driven. Over time, focus becomes their identity. It's not just what they do during study, it's who they are. They become the kind of person who finishes what they start, who doesn't quit midway, who can sit with discomfort and stay engaged until the task is done. That's the real essence of a topper's focus, not just mental sharpness, but emotional strength. In the end, the science of deep focus is simple but powerful. Eliminate distractions, engage fully, and rest strategically. Repeat this daily, and you'll rewire your brain for concentration. You'll find that learning becomes faster, recall becomes stronger, and confidence grows naturally. Distractions will always exist. The world won't slow down. But when you master focus, you don't need the world to change. You change the way you experience it. That's how toppers turn ordinary hours into extraordinary results. Because success doesn't belong to the smartest, it belongs to the most focused. Chapter 4. Learning how to learn. If focus is the art of directing your attention, learning how to learn is the science of making that attention count. This is where toppers truly rise above the rest. They don't just study longer, they study smarter. While most students fill their hours with reading and rereading, toppers transform learning into a dynamic, living process. They've cracked the code of how the brain actually absorbs, stores, and retrieves knowledge, and they use that understanding to turn studying into a skill. Toppers know that studying isn't about copying notes, underlining pages, or staring at textbooks until the words blur. It's about understanding, connecting, and creating meaning. The difference between memorizing and mastering is the difference between short-term recall and long-term retention, and toppers always aim for mastery. The truth is, your brain is not a storage device, it's a network. It doesn't just hold information, it connects ideas. The more connections you build, the stronger your memory becomes. That's why toppers don't learn facts in isolation. They link new information to something they already know. When they study history, they relate events to cause and effect. When they learn physics, they connect theories to real-life examples. This web of associations makes learning stick. They also use a technique called active learning. Instead of reading passively, they engage their brain with questions. Why does this happen? How can I explain this in my own words? Where could this concept be applied? This questioning turns the brain from a spectator into a participant. Passive reading feels productive, but it's an illusion. Active learning feels effortful, but it's what creates real understanding. One of the most powerful methods toppers use is the Feynman technique, named after Nobel-winning physicist Richard Feynman. It's simple. If you can't explain something clearly to a 10-year-old, you don't understand it deeply enough. So, toppers teach the concept aloud to themselves, to friends, even to an empty wall. When they stumble while explaining, that's a signal. I need to review this again. This method exposes gaps in understanding faster than any test. Toppers also rely on visualization. The brain loves images more than words. So they turn abstract ideas into pictures, diagrams, mind maps, flowcharts, or even stories. For example, instead of memorizing the parts of the cell mechanically, they imagine it as a busy city, the nucleus as the mayor, mitochondria as power plants, ribosomes as factories. This kind of creative learning converts dull information into vivid memory. Repetition plays a huge role too, but not the kind of repetition most students do. Toppers use spaced repetition, revisiting material at increasing intervals. It's based on how memory naturally fades. Instead of cramming the same chapter 5 times in one night, they review it once today, once after a few days, once after a week, and once after a month. This strengthens the memory every time the brain is about to forget it. The more spaced the repetition, the longer the retention. They combine this with active recall, testing themselves without looking at notes. It's one of the most scientifically proven ways to boost learning. Reading gives familiarity, recalling gives mastery. Toppers constantly quiz themselves, recreate questions, and summarize from memory. They don't wait until exam day to test what they know they test every day, every chapter. Another hallmark of toppers is interleaved practice. Instead of studying one subject or topic for hours, they mix them up: a bit of math, then chemistry, then physics. This may feel confusing at first, but it actually improves learning. The brain becomes better at distinguishing between ideas and recalling the right one in the right context. It's like learning to play multiple instruments, challenging at first, but it develops flexibility and depth. Toppers also embrace mistakes as part of learning. When they get something wrong, they don't feel defeated. They feel curious. Why did I get this wrong? What did I misunderstand? That reflection transforms failure into insight. Every error becomes a lesson, and every correction strengthens the neural pathway. They also manage their energy during learning. The human brain can't absorb complex information for hours straight. Toppers take short, mindful breaks to reset. During breaks, they often engage in unrelated activities, walking, stretching, even daydreaming. This gives the brain time to consolidate information subconsciously. It's like letting dough rise. After needing the quiet time is where the magic happens. Sleep, too, is a secret study weapon. Toppers understand that memory solidifies during rest, while others pull all-nighters before exams. Toppers prioritize sleep because they know the brain needs that time to organize and store knowledge. A well-rested mind performs better, recalls faster, and stays calmer. Beyond techniques, toppers also nurture curiosity. They don't study just because a teacher said so. They study because they want to know. They ask questions that go beyond the syllabus. How was this discovered? What would happen if this changed? This curiosity makes their learning self-driven, and intrinsic motivation always lasts longer than external pressure. Their learning is multisensory too. They read, write, speak, and listen. They combine different formats, watching videos, solving problems, reading notes, discussing with peers. Each mode reinforces the others. The more ways you interact with information, the deeper it sticks. Another important habit is reflection. Toppers regularly ask themselves what worked, what didn't, and how they can improve. Learning becomes a feedback loop, not a linear path. This metacognition, thinking about your own thinking, is one of the highest forms of intelligence. It turns every study session into a self-improvement session. Toppers also avoid the perfection trap. They don't waste time making pretty notes or over-organizing. Their focus is on clarity, not aesthetics. Their notes are tools, not art projects. They summarize in their own words, highlight key connections, and revise quickly. They know that efficiency matters more than appearance. When exams approach, their preparation feels smooth because they've already learned in layers, understanding, recalling, and revising. They don't panic because they trust their process. They've built a system where learning compounds naturally, like interest in a bank account. But perhaps the most beautiful thing about toppers is that they enjoy learning. They treat each concept as a puzzle waiting to be solved, each chapter as a journey into something new. For them, learning isn't about marks, it's about mastery. It's not a race, it's a relationship with knowledge. Anyone can adopt this mindset. You don't need to be born a genius to learn like one. You just need to change how you learn. Stop reading for hours without understanding. Start engaging, questioning, and explaining. Don't just feed your brain, train it. Because the real secret isn't just learning more, it's learning better. Once you master that skill, no subject feels impossible, no exam feels terrifying. Learning becomes exciting, empowering, and limitless. That's how toppers turn study into strategy and knowledge into power. They've realized something most people never do. Success doesn't belong to those who study the most, but to those who learn the best. And once you understand how to learn, you can master anything in the world. Chapter 5: Consistency over Intensity. There's a myth that success belongs to the students who study the longest, stay up the latest, and burn out the fastest. But toppers know the truth. Success is not built in a single night of effort. It's built in the quiet repetition of small actions, done daily. The real power lies not in intensity, but in consistency. Anyone can be motivated for a day. Anyone can study hard for a week, but only a few can show up every day, even when they don't feel like it, even when motivation disappears. That's what sets toppers apart. They understand that consistency creates momentum, and momentum creates mastery. Toppers don't rely on bursts of inspiration. They build systems that make discipline automatic. Their routine isn't perfect, it's persistent. Some days, they study deeply and make huge progress. Other days, they just revise a small portion or review notes, but they never completely stop. They know that even a slow walk in the right direction beats a sprint, followed by collapse. Think of success like brushing your teeth. It's not dramatic, but it's essential. You don't skip brushing for a week and then do it for 3 hours to make up for it. That's how consistency works. The mind, like the body, thrives on regular training. Toppers train their brain to study daily, so it becomes a habit, not a struggle. This daily rhythm creates a compounding effect. Imagine you read just 10 pages a day. That's 3,650 pages in a year, more than 10 average-sized books. Imagine revising just one topic a day. That's hundreds of topics before exams. Small steps, repeated daily, create exponential results. Toppers know this secret deeply. They understand that consistency builds identity. Every time they study, even for a short session, they reinforce the belief: I am a disciplined person. I'm someone who follows through. That identity becomes stronger than procrastination, stronger than excuses. But consistency doesn't come naturally. It's built through structure. Toppers create routines that work for them, not against them. Their schedule isn't rigid like a prison. It's flexible like a bridge. They set realistic goals, not overwhelming ones that lead to burnout. Instead of cramming for 8 hours straight, they might study in focused blocks of 2 or 3 hours, balanced with rest and reflection. They also understand their personal rhythm. Some people focus best early in the morning, others at night. Toppers identify their golden hours, those moments of peak alertness, and use them wisely. They build their most challenging tasks into those slots, maximizing efficiency instead of fighting fatigue. What keeps them going isn't excitement, it's discipline. Motivation is like fire, bright but short-lived. Discipline is like the sun, steady, reliable, and consistent. Toppers know that they won't always feel like studying, but they don't wait for the mood. They act first, feelings follow. This habit of showing up, despite resistance, is their true superpower. They also make consistency rewarding. Instead of seeing study time as punishment, they frame it as progress. They celebrate small wins, finishing a topic, solving a difficult question, understanding a tough concept. These micro-victories release dopamine, reinforcing the habit. Over time, their brain begins to crave that sense of achievement, making consistency easier. Another secret: toppers remove friction. They design their environment so that studying requires minimal effort to begin. Their study table is organized, materials ready, distractions minimized. They don't waste time searching for notes or clearing clutter. The easier it is to start, the more likely you'll continue. Toppers also use tracking systems, simple yet powerful. Some maintain study journals or habit trackers. Every time they complete a study session, they mark it off. Seeing the chain of progress gives a visual sense of achievement. The rule is simple: don't break the chain. Missing one day might happen, missing 2 starts a new habit of quitting. So they guard their streak carefully. They don't let setbacks destroy their rhythm. If they miss a day, they don't spiral into guilt. They restart the next day, immediately. They see consistency not as perfection, but as persistence. It's okay to fall. What matters is how fast you stand up again. Rest, too, is part of their consistency. Toppers understand that the brain needs downtime to consolidate knowledge. They schedule breaks, leisure, and sleep. Burnout breaks consistency faster than laziness ever could. True consistency is sustainable. It's the balance between effort and recovery. Many students confuse effort with exhaustion. They believe they're working hard when they're actually just overworking. But toppers treat their time like an athlete treats training: intense when needed, relaxed when required. They know that productivity is not about doing more, but about doing regularly and effectively. Consistency also builds trust with themselves. Every time they honor their plan, they strengthen self-respect. When they say, "I'll study at 7 p.m.," and they do, Their brain starts believing their own words. Over time, this self-trust becomes unshakable. That's how toppers stay confident. Even in chaos, they trust their preparation because they've proven themselves day after day. And the beauty of consistency is that it turns the extraordinary into the ordinary. At first, studying daily feels difficult, even impossible. But after weeks of repetition, it becomes automatic, like breathing. The topper doesn't need to fight laziness every morning because the habit takes over. Discipline becomes second nature. Of course, consistency doesn't mean monotony. Toppers keep their study sessions varied and interesting. They switch between subjects, mix reading with problem solving, use flashcards, videos, or discussions. This variation keeps the brain stimulated and reduces boredom, ensuring long-term engagement. Consistency also teaches patience. The world today celebrates instant results, quick grades, fast success, but toppers play the long game. They know that meaningful achievement takes time. Like a sculptor shaping stone, they chip away slowly, refining their skills until excellence emerges. Each day of study may seem small, but together, they create greatness. This mindset frees them from the anxiety of perfection. They don't panic if one day isn't productive, because they know progress is cumulative. One bad day can't erase weeks of steady effort. That calm confidence is the reward of consistency. It replaces fear with faith. When exams arrive, toppers don't scramble in chaos. They've already built a foundation. Every concept, every formula, every topic has been revisited through months of steady work. Their confidence doesn't come from last-minute revision. It comes from the quiet satisfaction of preparation done well. And perhaps most importantly, consistency transforms character. The same habit that makes you study daily is the one that helps you succeed later in life, in career, health, and relationships. It teaches you discipline, time management, and perseverance. Success in studies is only the beginning. Consistency builds the mindset for lifelong achievement. So, if you truly want to think and live like a topper, stop chasing intensity. Don't look for quick hacks or overnight miracles. Instead, make a small promise to yourself, 1 hour of focused effort every day. Keep that promise, no matter what. Watch what happens after a month, then after 3, then after a year. The results will feel almost magical, but they're not. They're simply the natural outcome of consistency, the quiet force that shapes dreams into reality. Remember this: intensity gets you started, but consistency gets you success. The students who win are not those who study the hardest once, but those who study faithfully, even when no one's watching, even when it's hard, even when it's boring. Because real success isn't a firework that burns bright and fades. It's a sunrise that returns every day, steady and unstoppable. And that's the rhythm of the topper's journey. Small steps, taken daily, leading to extraordinary heights. Chapter 6. Handling failure like a winner. Every topper's journey is filled with victories that the world applauds. High ranks, medals, recognition, applause. But what most people don't see are the failures behind those victories. The low scores, the sleepless nights, the self-doubt, the moments when giving up seemed easier than going on. Toppers don't escape failure. They experience it deeply, but they handle it differently. That's the secret. Failure doesn't destroy them, it refines them. Where most students see failure as the end, toppers see it as feedback. They treat every setback as a signal, every mistake as a message. Their ability to rise again, calm, thoughtful, and determined, is what separates them from the rest. When an average student gets a poor result, the first thought is usually emotional. I'm not good enough. They take failure personally. But when a topper faces the same result, their thought is analytical. Where did I go wrong? That simple difference in interpretation changes everything. The first response shuts you down. The second one opens you up. Toppers understand that failure is data. It tells you what doesn't work. It's not a verdict on your intelligence. It's a guide to your improvement. They don't let failure attack their identity. They separate the person from the performance. "I failed in this test" is very different from "I am a failure." This emotional distance gives them clarity, and clarity gives them power. But make no mistake, failure hurts. Even toppers feel disappointment, frustration, and sadness. They just don't let those emotions make decisions for them. They allow themselves to feel the pain, but then they rise from it. They use it as fuel. That's emotional maturity, turning pain into purpose. The first thing toppers do after a failure is reflection. They don't hide from the result. They face it head on. They sit with their paper, their notes, and their thoughts. They ask hard questions. What exactly went wrong? Was it lack of understanding, time mismanagement, overconfidence, poor revision? Instead of blaming luck, teachers, or the paper, they take ownership. This sense of responsibility is their greatest strength, because when you accept responsibility, you gain control. You can't change what you don't own. By saying, "This was my fault, and I can fix it," toppers shift from helplessness to action. Next, they create a recovery plan. They identify weak areas and attack them methodically. If they lost marks in a subject, they revise it more deeply. If they ran out of time, they practice under timed conditions. If anxiety held them back, they work on stress management. Each failure becomes a custom-designed lesson. They also understand that the brain remembers emotionally charged experiences. So, rather than letting failure scar them with negativity, they reframe it. They remind themselves that failure means they're trying something hard, that they're growing. This reframe rewires the emotional association. Failure stops feeling like punishment and starts feeling like progress. Toppers know that real learning often begins where comfort ends. When everything goes smoothly, you're not being tested. Growth happens when you face difficulty and persist anyway. They see failure as the tuition fee for success, painful, yes, but priceless. One of the most powerful traits of toppers is resilience, the ability to bounce back. Resilience isn't about ignoring pain, it's about recovering faster each time. It's the courage to stand up again after falling not once, but repeatedly. Every comeback makes them mentally tougher and emotionally stronger. To build resilience, toppers use reflection, optimism, and action. They never stay stuck in, "Why me?" They move quickly to, "What now?" That shift from reaction to response keeps them forward-focused. They don't dwell on what went wrong yesterday. They plan how to win tomorrow. They also have an internal support system, not necessarily a team of people, but a mindset that supports them. When they fail, they don't drown in self-criticism. Instead, they talk to themselves like a friend. "Okay, this didn't go well. I've learned something. Let's do better next time." This positive self-dialogue prevents emotional burnout. Many toppers also seek mentorship when they fail. They aren't afraid to ask for help. They discuss their mistakes with teachers or peers, gaining insights they might have missed. They treat advice as a resource, not as judgment. The humility to learn from others speeds up their recovery. Some failures are big: a crucial exam, a competitive test, a dream goal. When toppers face these major disappointments, they take a step back to gain perspective. They remind themselves that one failure doesn't define their entire future. They zoom out and see the larger picture. A single storm doesn't sink a ship unless the sailor gives up steering. They also understand the timeline of success. Greatness takes time. Every topper knows stories of achievers who faced countless rejections before making history. Scientists, entrepreneurs, artists, athletes. This awareness builds patience. They see failure as a chapter, not the conclusion. There's also a psychological technique many toppers use intuitively: mental reframing. When they face setbacks, they rewrite the story in their mind. Instead of thinking, "I failed because I'm not good enough," they think, "This result showed me exactly where I need to focus." The same event, a completely different meaning. This power of reframing transforms despair into determination. Moreover, toppers don't let failure affect their self-worth. They understand that their value doesn't come from marks or rankings, but from effort and growth. They define themselves by how hard they try, not just by what they score. That internal validation keeps them stable, no matter the outcome. They also use post-failure rituals. After a setback, they might take a break, go for a walk, meditate, or talk to someone. They let their emotions settle before jumping back in. This pause helps them return stronger, with a clear head and renewed focus. Interestingly, toppers often credit their biggest successes to their failures. They'll say, "If I hadn't failed that test, I wouldn't have changed my method," or "That setback made me more disciplined." Failure becomes the mentor. Success never could be. It strips away arrogance, exposes weakness, and builds wisdom. Failure also teaches toppers empathy. Once they've felt the sting of loss, they become more understanding toward others. They don't mock or compare. They uplift. They realize that everyone's journey has its own timing, and kindness makes the climb easier. Toppers also learn to expect failure. That doesn't mean they're pessimistic. It means they're realistic. They know that progress isn't linear. There will be dips, delays, and detours. So when failure arrives, they're not shocked. They're prepared. This expectation turns failure from an enemy into a familiar visitor. When exams or life tests them again, toppers don't carry the baggage of old mistakes. They carry the lessons. They walk in wiser, calmer, and sharper. That's why toppers often seem unshaken. Under pressure, they've already faced the worst and survived. Their confidence doesn't come from never falling. It comes from knowing they can always rise again. That's the essence of resilience, not immunity to failure, but mastery over recovery. For you, too, the path to success will have rough patches. You will face disappointment. You'll feel like quitting. But remember this truth: failure is not a wall, it's a mirror. It shows you who you are, what you need to change, and how much you can grow. If you run from it, you stay stuck. If you face it, you evolve. So the next time you stumble, pause, breathe, and say, "This is my training, not my ending." Study your mistake, learn from it, and move forward. Every great achiever in history has walked through failure, not around it. Because the path to success is paved with setbacks, and those who rise after every fall don't just reach the top, they stay there. Toppers don't fear failure because they've learned its secret. It's not the opposite of success, it's the foundation of it. Chapter 7. Becoming a lifelong topper. Every story you've heard about toppers, their mindset, focus, consistency, and resilience often seems to end with a final exam, a medal, or a certificate. But the truth is, that's not the real ending. For toppers, success is never a single event. It's not limited to an academic scorecard or a moment of recognition. It's a lifelong philosophy, a way of thinking, living, and growing. Real toppers never stop learning, never stop improving, and never stop expanding their potential. They don't just aim to top exams, they aim to top life itself. When the classroom lights fade and textbooks close, most people move on and forget what they learned. But toppers carry forward the principles behind their success: clarity, consistency, curiosity, and resilience into every new challenge they face. These principles become the foundation of their personal and professional growth. The same mindset that made them excel in studies becomes the engine that drives their careers, relationships, and happiness. Becoming a lifelong topper means understanding that learning never truly ends. Life itself becomes the biggest classroom, and every experience becomes a teacher. Whether it's handling a failure at work, learning a new skill, or navigating relationships, toppers apply the same formula they used as students: observe, understand, improve, repeat. They know that curiosity doesn't belong only to classrooms, it belongs to every stage of life. Toppers are learners before they are achievers. They aren't afraid to start from scratch in new areas. In fact, they love it. They know that beginners are the ones who grow the fastest. So, even after success, they stay humble enough to keep asking questions. They know that arrogance stops growth, but curiosity multiplies it. You'll often find that toppers have a unique relationship with challenges. They don't avoid them, they chase them. They treat new challenges as opportunities to learn and expand. Whether it's learning a new technology, improving communication skills, or starting a business, they approach it with the same determination they once brought to their exams. Their thought process is simple: I may not know this yet, but I can learn it. This mindset, the belief in one's ability to learn anything with time and effort, is what psychologists call self-efficacy. It's one of the most powerful beliefs you can build. Toppers nurture it constantly. Because once you believe you can learn anything, no field feels impossible, and no failure feels final. They also apply their old habits of structure and reflection to adult life. While others drift aimlessly through routines, toppers design their days with intention. They plan their goals, review their progress, and adjust their direction when needed. Their calendars may have changed from study schedules to work projects, but the principle remains the same. Clarity is power. But what truly defines a lifelong topper is not just discipline, it's purpose. When they studied as students, their goal was to understand, to improve, and to excel. As they grow older, that goal evolves into contributing to make a difference, to use their knowledge for something greater than themselves. They begin to measure success not just by personal wins, but by impact, how many people they've inspired, helped, or uplifted. Toppers transform from learners into leaders. Yet, they never lose the learner within. The humility to admit, "I don't know," keeps them grounded. They understand that the world changes constantly, and yesterday's knowledge might not solve tomorrow's problems. So they keep upgrading themselves, reading, experimenting, reflecting, evolving. This adaptability keeps them ahead, not just in studies or work, but in life. They also understand that mental growth must go hand in hand with emotional growth. You can't top life if you crumble under pressure or lose yourself to stress. That's why lifelong toppers develop emotional intelligence, the ability to understand and manage their own emotions and empathize with others. They learn to balance ambition with peace, performance with purpose. Unlike many who chase external validation, toppers derive fulfillment from internal progress. They find satisfaction not in showing off achievements, but in becoming better than their past selves. They understand that true success is quiet. It's the peace of knowing you're growing, even when no one is watching. And this brings us to a profound truth. The real measure of a topper is not their rank, but their growth rate. How much are you learning, evolving, and contributing every year? Are you more disciplined, wiser, and more compassionate than you were last year? That's the test of a lifelong topper, and it never ends. Toppers also carry with them a powerful mindset toward time. They value it deeply, not just for productivity, but for purpose. They don't waste time scrolling endlessly, gossiping, or regretting. They invest time in things that create value, learning a new skill, building meaningful relationships, nurturing health, or contributing to others. They see time as life itself. Every moment spent well is a brick in the foundation of a fulfilled life. At the same time, lifelong toppers embrace balance. They don't obsess over work or goals to the point of burnout. They understand that rest, recreation, and relationships fuel creativity and focus. Their success isn't built on exhaustion, but on alignment between what they do, why they do it, and who they're becoming through it. Another striking quality of lifelong toppers is gratitude. They never forget the people and opportunities that help them rise. Teachers, parents, mentors, friends. Gratitude keeps them humble. It reminds them that success is never a solo journey. This humility makes them approachable, kind, and inspiring. Toppers also develop what we can call vision literacy. They think ahead, not just about the next goal, but the kind of person they want to become. They don't live reactively, they live intentionally. When faced with choices, they ask, does this align with my values? Does it bring me closer to my purpose? This clarity protects them from distractions and keeps their life direction steady. As they progress in life, toppers redefine what success means. In their early years, success was about marks. Later, it becomes about mastery, mastering themselves, their craft, and their mind. They realize that true success is not external, but internal peace, purpose, and the freedom to live authentically. They also begin to give back. Mentorship becomes their next calling. Having once been guided, they now guide others. They teach not just subjects, but mindset, showing others how to think, plan, and grow. This sharing multiplies their impact, creating ripples of growth in those around them. And yet, the essence of a topper remains simple. They are forever students. They are never done. Whether they are 18 or 80, they wake up each day asking, what can I learn today? What can I improve today? That hunger for learning makes life endlessly exciting. It transforms ordinary days into opportunities for evolution. To become a lifelong topper, you don't need to win every race. You just need to stay on the track. Keep learning, keep refining, keep expanding. Some days you'll sprint. Other days, you'll crawl. But as long as you keep moving forward with curiosity, humility, and consistency, you're already winning. Because being a topper was never just about topping others, it was about topping your yesterday. It's not about standing above people, it's about rising above your own limits. The race isn't against the world, it's against your past self. When you live with that mindset, failure can't break you, success can't blind you, and time can't stop you. You'll keep growing wiser, stronger, and freer with every passing year. So, as you close this audiobook, remember, the topper's journey doesn't end with grades. It begins with growth. Exams end, but learning never does. Each day of your life is another chapter, another test, another chance to rise. Be the student who never stops studying the subject of life. Be the learner who never stops questioning, exploring, and improving. Be the person who doesn't just live, but learns how to live better every single day. Because that's what a lifelong topper truly is. Not someone who knows it all, but someone who never stops learning it all. Chapter 8. The Legacy of Growth Living Beyond Success. Every journey has a beginning, but the journey of a true topper has no end. It is a cycle of learning, growing, teaching, and inspiring that continues far beyond classrooms, exams, or achievements. By the time they reach this stage, toppers have realized something profound. Success is not a trophy to hold, but a torch to pass. The purpose of mastering your own potential is not just to reach the top, but to lift others as you climb. When you look at lifelong toppers, the ones who truly evolve into leaders, innovators, and changemakers, you'll notice one striking thing. Their growth doesn't stop when the applause fades. In fact, that's when it truly begins. They see success not as an endpoint, but as a responsibility. Once they've learned how to win, they dedicate their lives to helping others win too. The legacy of a topper is not measured by grades, awards, or recognition. It's measured by the influence they create, the people they empower, the ideas they spark, and the hope they spread. True toppers become role models not because they're perfect, but because they live with purpose. They use their journey as a message that says, "If I can grow, so can you." This chapter is about that legacy, about turning your personal success into shared success, your learning into contribution, and your discipline into direction for others. Toppers grow from being learners to being leaders of learning. They don't hoard knowledge, they distribute it. You'll often find them mentoring juniors, tutoring friends, volunteering to guide others, or even creating platforms for education. They've realized that the more they give, the more they grow. Teaching is their final stage of mastery, because when you teach something, you understand it at a deeper level. But their legacy goes beyond teaching. It's about living as an example, showing that success can be achieved with integrity, kindness, and consistency. In a world obsessed with shortcuts and instant gratification, toppers stand out because they prove that long-term dedication still works. They remind us that hard work and honesty never go out of style. The toppers' influence often comes from their values, their calm under pressure, their humility after achievement, and their empathy for others. They don't brag about how much they know. They listen more than they speak. They don't compete to prove superiority. They collaborate to create growth. That quiet confidence is their true power. Over time, toppers begin to see that the real exam of life isn't about scoring higher than others. It's about staying true to yourself. It's about making choices that align with your principles, even when it's difficult. It's about doing what's right, not what's easy. They learn that character matters more than marks, and impact matters more than image. This shift from self-achievement to self-awareness marks the final transformation of a topper. The same discipline that once helped them study now helps them live meaningfully. They apply structure not just to their goals, but to their growth, physical, emotional, intellectual, and spiritual. They schedule reflection as seriously as they once scheduled revision. They prioritize learning about life, relationships, leadership, empathy, purpose, just as passionately as they once learned subjects. Lifelong toppers also understand balance. They know that success without peace is hollow. They build routines that nurture both productivity and presence. They take time for family, friends, and solitude. They realize that rest is not the opposite of progress. It's part of it. Their life becomes a masterpiece of harmony, where ambition and contentment coexist beautifully. And when challenges return, as they always do, toppers handle them differently now. They no longer fear failure because they've learned from it. They no longer chase validation because they've outgrown it. They know who they are and what they stand for. Their success is no longer measured in numbers, but in the depth of their impact and the peace in their mind. They also redefine ambition. Instead of asking, "How much can I achieve?" they ask, "How much can I contribute?" This simple shift turns them from achievers into changemakers. They innovate, build, and lead with purpose. Whether they become scientists, teachers, artists, entrepreneurs, or parents, they bring the same mindset of excellence, compassion, and curiosity to everything they do. One of the most beautiful qualities of lifelong toppers is that they never forget their roots. No matter how high they rise, they remember where they started the struggles, the teachers, the sacrifices. Gratitude keeps them grounded. They see success as a shared effort, the result of many hands, not just their own. That humility makes their success shine brighter, not louder. Their legacy becomes a story others want to follow, not because it's glamorous, but because it's real. They've turned effort into example, and their journey becomes a guide for those who come after them. And that's the ultimate victory, to live in such a way that your story inspires others to believe in themselves. Toppers eventually realize something profound. Growth is not linear, it's infinite. There is no final peak, no ultimate rank. Every level of success simply opens a new level of learning. The world becomes their classroom, and experience becomes their textbook. Life keeps testing them, not with exams, but with decisions, challenges, and opportunities to live by what they've learned. They treat every phase of life, student, professional, parent, mentor, as a chance to evolve. They keep asking new questions, setting new goals, and seeking new meanings. And in doing so, they stay young in spirit, forever curious, forever learning. You see, a true topper never retires from learning. They just change classrooms. And that's where you come in. You are not just the listener of this audiobook. You are its continuation. Everything you've learned about mindset, clarity, focus, consistency, resilience, and purpose is not meant to end here. It's meant to live through you. You are the next chapter in the story of growth. Maybe your journey won't be the same as someone else's. Maybe your challenges will be different. But the principles remain timeless. Think deeply, plan wisely, learn passionately, persist patiently, and rise after every fall. These are not just habits, they are lifelong companions. If you live by them, you won't just pass exams. You'll pass through life with grace and strength. You'll build not only a successful career, but also a meaningful legacy, one that inspires others long after you're gone. Because the true mark of a topper isn't the name printed on a certificate, it's the lives they touch, the change they create, and the lessons they leave behind. So as you step out into the world, remember this final truth. The goal is not to be the best in the world, but to be your best for the world. That's how toppers live. That's how they leave a legacy that never fades. Keep learning, keep evolving, keep inspiring, because your greatest exam is still ahead and your best chapters are yet to be written. Chapter 9. The Inner Game, Mastering Mind, Emotion, and Purpose. By now, you've seen that success isn't a straight line. It's not a sprint from effort to reward, nor a checklist of goals to be completed. It's a journey of growth, one that happens as much within you as around you. And at the heart of that journey lies something most people overlook: the inner game. Toppers know that real success isn't just about how well you study, how precisely you plan, or how strongly you persist. It's about mastering yourself, your thoughts, your emotions, your purpose, and your energy. The mind is the stage where all battles are won or lost. Before a topper wins in the world, they first win in their own head. This chapter is about that invisible battlefield, the inner space where discipline meets emotion, where clarity meets chaos, and where true greatness begins. Because no matter how sharp your strategy is, if your mind isn't steady, everything collapses. And no matter how small your steps are, if your mind is aligned, you can go anywhere. The mind, the silent commander. Every topper understands one truth early: the mind is both the best friend and the worst enemy. Left undisciplined, it creates doubt, fear, and distraction. Trained properly, it becomes a force of precision, calm, and focus. Most people let their minds run them like a wild horse, pulling them in every direction. Toppers learn to lead their mind. They use intention instead of impulse. They don't let emotions decide their day. They let purpose do it. They practice mental awareness, noticing their thoughts without letting them control their behavior. When anxiety shows up before an exam, they don't panic. They breathe. They pause. They tell themselves, "This feeling means I care about the outcome. Let me channel it." They don't fight the mind, they understand it. That understanding becomes power. Meditation, journaling, or even a few moments of silence are common among toppers, whether they realize it or not. These practices help them declutter the mind, reset focus, and stay grounded amid chaos. Their calmness is not natural. It's cultivated through repetition and reflection. They know that a peaceful mind learns faster. When your mind is noisy with overthinking, stress, or comparison, your ability to absorb knowledge decreases. That's why toppers protect their mental space. They avoid unnecessary gossip, negativity, and distraction, not because they're antisocial, but because they value mental clarity, like oxygen. The emotion power, in motion. Emotions are energy. The word itself comes from emover, meaning to move out. Emotions move us. They can either drive us forward or drag us down. Toppers don't suppress emotions, they regulate them. They've learned that fear, anger, or sadness aren't enemies, they're signals. Fear means something matters. Anger means something feels unfair. Sadness means something needs attention. Instead of ignoring these signals, toppers listen. They translate emotions into action. For example, when they fear failure, they don't freeze, they prepare harder. When they feel stressed, they take a break, breathe, and realign their focus. They don't allow one bad mood to ruin a full day. They practice what psychologists call emotional agility, the ability to feel deeply but act wisely. This emotional mastery helps toppers stay stable when others crumble. During exams, interviews, or deadlines, while many are drowning in panic, toppers stay poised. They've trained themselves to respond rather than react. They see pressure not as punishment, but as proof of growth. And it's not just about handling negative emotions. Toppers also cultivate positive ones: gratitude, enthusiasm, optimism. These emotions fuel resilience. Gratitude reminds them how far they've come. Optimism reminds them what's still possible. They know that how you feel affects how you perform. So they nurture good emotions deliberately. They smile more, express appreciation, celebrate small wins. They know positivity isn't naive, it's strategy. It keeps their spirit strong even when circumstances aren't. The purpose, the North Star. But beyond mindset and emotion lies the deepest layer of the inner game: purpose. Without purpose, even success feels empty. You can achieve everything and still feel lost. That's why toppers don't just ask, "What do I want to achieve?" They ask, "Why do I want to achieve it?" That why gives meaning to effort and direction to ambition. For some, purpose begins small: to make their parents proud, to overcome self-doubt, or to secure a better life. But as they grow, their purpose matures. It expands from self to service, from "I want to win" to "I want to make a difference." Purpose transforms routine into ritual. When you study or work with purpose, even ordinary tasks feel significant. You stop asking, "Do I have to?" and start thinking, "I get to." Purpose gives consistency, a reason and effort, a heart. Toppers align their goals with their purpose. That's why they rarely burn out. Burnout happens when you work hard on something that doesn't matter to you. But when effort meets meaning, it energizes instead of exhausting you. And here's the truth: purpose doesn't have to be grand. You don't need to save the world. You just need to grow, contribute, and create value. Even if your purpose today is to become better than yesterday, that's enough to ignite transformation. The balance: head, heart, and habit. The inner game is a dance between the head, the heart, and habits. The mind gives direction, the heart gives energy, and habits give momentum. Toppers maintain balance between all three. If the mind dominates too much, life becomes mechanical, all logic, no joy. If emotions take over, decisions lose clarity. If habits fade, dreams remain intentions. The magic happens when all three align, when thought, feeling, and action work in harmony. This alignment doesn't come overnight. It's built through daily self-awareness, checking in with yourself. How am I thinking? How am I feeling? What am I doing about it? This simple reflection turns confusion into clarity. It helps toppers course correct before chaos takes over. The resilience of the soul. There comes a point when every achiever faces deep challenges: failure, loss, heartbreak, burnout, rejection. These moments test more than your skill. They test your spirit. Toppers rise again, not because they're invincible, but because they've built an inner core that doesn't shatter. They've learned to find meaning in pain. When life hits them, they ask, "What is this teaching me?" That question transforms suffering into strength. They understand that adversity is not against them, it's for them. It shapes patience, empathy, and wisdom. It removes ego and replaces it with depth. After every challenge, they emerge stronger, calmer, and more compassionate. That's real success, the growth of the soul, the practice of presence. In a fast, noisy world, presence is rare, and toppers practice it intentionally. Whether studying, talking, or resting, they aim to be where they are. When they study, they're fully immersed. When they relax, they truly rest. This mindfulness gives them clarity and peace. It protects them from the mental clutter of regret, past, and anxiety, future. They live with awareness, not autopilot. Each moment becomes an opportunity to focus, feel, and grow. Presence is also the secret behind creativity. When you're truly present, ideas flow naturally. That's why toppers often say they get their best insights during walks, showers, or quiet moments. The mind is calm enough to listen. The legacy of the inner game. In the end, the inner game is not about controlling life. It's about mastering yourself within it. The world outside will always be uncertain. You can't control every outcome, every exam, every situation, but you can control how you respond. And that's the essence of inner strength. Toppers who master their inner game become unstoppable, not because life gets easier, but because they get stronger. They can walk into storms and stay centered. They can lose once and still believe again. They can be ordinary on the outside, but extraordinary inside. And the best part? You can build this power too. You don't need special talent or luck, just awareness, patience, and practice. Start small. Observe your thoughts. Listen to your emotions. Reconnect with your purpose. Train your mind the way toppers train for exams with consistency and compassion. Over time, you'll feel the shift. Distractions will lose their grip. Stress will no longer scare you. You'll begin to live from a deeper place, grounded, focused, and fearless. That's when success stops being something you chase. It becomes something you attract. Because when your inner world is aligned, the outer world starts to align too. And that's the ultimate truth toppers discover. The greatest victory is not over others, but over the chaos within. Master your mind, nurture your emotions, live with purpose, and you won't just top exams or careers. You'll top life itself. Chapter 10. The Infinite Journey, Rising Beyond Limits. Every ending carries within it the seed of a new beginning. And as we reach the final chapter of this audiobook, it's not the conclusion of a story, it's the start of a lifelong adventure. You've walked through the mindset of toppers, their clarity, their discipline, their resilience, and their unbreakable focus. But now comes the greatest realization of all. There is no final destination. The journey of a true topper, of a true learner, is infinite. Toppers don't live for the applause at the end of the exam or the praise of achievement. They live for the process, the discovery, the never-ending climb toward a higher version of themselves. Their life is not about reaching the top, once it's about continuously rising beyond their own limits. They understand something many never do. Success is not about arriving, it's about evolving. The myth of arrival. Most people live under what psychologists call the arrival fallacy, the illusion that happiness, peace, or fulfillment will come after reaching a certain goal. I'll be happy when I score 95%. I'll relax once I get that job. I'll feel confident when others notice my success. But when they reach those milestones, a new goal appears, and the satisfaction fades. Toppers see through this illusion. They know that joy doesn't come after success, it comes during progress. They find fulfillment in the journey itself. Each day of effort, each small improvement, each lesson learned, that's their reward. For them, the process is the prize. The exam is just a checkpoint. The learning is forever. The constant evolution. If you ever talk to toppers years after their school or college days, you'll notice something striking. They're still growing. They're still reading, experimenting, improving. Their goals may have changed from exams to careers, from grades to goals, but their hunger to evolve never dies. They are in a constant state of reinvention. When one chapter of life ends, they begin another with the same curiosity and commitment. When the world changes, they adapt. They're not afraid to start over, to learn new skills, or to unlearn outdated ones. That flexibility is their greatest strength. While many resist change, toppers embrace it. They know that growth only happens outside comfort zones. Every new challenge, a career shift, a new subject, a life setback, is a fresh classroom. They show up with the same attitude they had as students, open, humble, and ready to learn. They never say, "I already know enough." Instead, they ask, "What else can I understand better?" This is why toppers keep advancing long after others plateau. The expansion of identity. In their early years, toppers are defined by marks or ranks. But as they evolve, they begin to realize, "I am not my grades, I am my growth." They move beyond identity labels and see themselves as limitless beings, capable of constant reinvention. This realization frees them. It gives them the courage to try, fail, and begin again. They no longer fear change because they no longer attach their worth to outcomes. They know who they are: learners, doers, creators. Their identity becomes fluid, not a noun, but a verb. They're not just successful people, they're people who keep becoming. That's the magic of the infinite journey. The pursuit of mastery. There's a difference between achievement and mastery. Achievement is external, a score, a title, a trophy. Mastery is internal, a state of depth, excellence, and flow. Toppers evolve from chasing achievements to pursuing mastery. They fall in love with the craft itself, the joy of understanding, the art of improvement, the satisfaction of refining a skill until it feels effortless. They don't measure success by comparison, but by progression. A topper doesn't say, "I want to be better than them." They say, "I want to be better than I was yesterday." That's why they never burn out. When you chase comparison, you run endlessly on someone else's track. But when you chase mastery, every step brings meaning. And mastery isn't limited to academics or career. It's about mastering yourself, your habits, focus, relationships, emotions, and purpose. Every part of life becomes a subject worth learning deeply. The balance between ambition and peace. One of the hardest lessons toppers learn as they grow is how to balance ambition with peace. The same fire that pushes them forward can burn them if not tempered with calm. So they learn to slow down, not to stop, but to sustain. They meditate, reflect, and take breaks without guilt. They realize that rest is not the enemy of ambition, it's its partner. Without rest, ambition becomes obsession. Without ambition, rest becomes stagnation. Toppers master both. They know when to sprint and when to breathe. They treat their life like music, not a constant drumbeat, but a rhythm of action and silence. They understand that balance is not about doing less, it's about doing what matters most. They say no to noise, so they can say yes to purpose. They design their days with intention, their relationships with care, and their time with gratitude. The power of contribution. At some point in their journey, toppers realize that personal success alone isn't enough. You can't feel complete if your growth benefits only yourself. The true joy of mastery comes from sharing it. That's when their life shifts, from achievement to impact. They start mentoring others, creating systems, teaching, leading, and giving back. They become builders of people, ideas, and communities. Their presence uplifts others, not because they demand respect, but because they embody inspiration. They understand that wisdom that isn't shared is wasted. So they pass it forward through conversations, kindness, and example. They know that the legacy of a topper isn't in how high they climbed, but in how many they helped rise. Their success becomes a ripple that travels through time, influencing generations long after their name is forgotten. That's what true greatness looks like, leaving the world a little wiser, kinder, and better than you found it. The return to simplicity. With wisdom comes simplicity. The more toppers learn, the more they realize that life doesn't need to be complicated to be meaningful. They move from collecting achievements to cherishing experiences, from chasing everything to focusing on what truly matters. They rediscover joy in small things, a morning walk, a meaningful conversation, a quiet evening spent learning or reflecting. The same discipline that once drove them to excel now helps them appreciate stillness. Toppers learn that life is not a race to win, but a rhythm to live. The goal is not to have everything, but to understand enough to be at peace with what you have. The infinite mindset. Perhaps the most defining trait of a lifelong topper is what philosopher Simon Sinek calls the infinite mindset. Finite thinkers play to win. Infinite thinkers play to continue. A finite mindset says, I'll study until I get the job I want. An infinite mindset says, I'll keep learning because growth itself is my purpose. A finite mindset says, once I achieve success, I'll rest. An infinite mindset says, success is the beginning of new possibilities. That's why toppers stay relevant and fulfilled no matter where life takes them. They aren't attached to results, they're devoted to evolution. They can lose a job, switch a career, or start again and still feel whole, because their identity is rooted in growth, not titles. They embody an eternal student's heart, humble, curious, open. And that's what keeps them young forever, not in age, but in spirit. The final lesson. As this audiobook nears its close, understand this. Becoming a topper was never just about academics. It was about awakening. It was about learning how to think, how to focus, how to handle failure, how to stay consistent, and how to keep rising when life gets heavy. Those lessons are not confined to school or college. They are tools for living, for navigating relationships, work, success, and setbacks with grace and strength. And as you move forward, remember, every day gives you two choices: to repeat or to evolve. Most people repeat yesterday endlessly, but toppers, the real ones, evolve. They use each sunrise as a reset button, each mistake as a lesson, and each win as motivation to grow more. Your infinite journey. Now it's your turn. You've learned how toppers think, plan, focus, persist, recover, and grow. But knowledge means little until you live it. So start where you are. Build habits that last. Master the inner game. Seek purpose in every effort. And once you rise, reach back and help others climb too. You are not just preparing for an exam. You are preparing for life, and life will test you again and again. But if you live with the principles you've learned here, clarity, consistency, resilience, curiosity, and compassion, you'll never truly fail. Because no matter what happens outside, you'll always have what matters inside the heart of a learner, the strength of discipline, and the courage to keep evolving. The topper's journey never ends, and now it continues through you. So go ahead, dream bigger, rise higher, and grow deeper. Keep learning, keep building, keep shining. Because the greatest success story you'll ever write is not about reaching the top. It's about becoming someone who never stops rising beyond limits. Chapter 11. The Awakening. Becoming the architect of your own destiny. Every journey that begins with learning ultimately leads to awakening, a realization that the power you once sought from the outside was within you all along. By now, you've walked through the mindset, the methods, and the mastery of toppers. You've learned how they plan, persist, and rise through failure. But the final stage of greatness isn't just about becoming successful. It's about becoming self-aware. It's about stepping into the role of the creator, the architect of your own destiny. Toppers who truly evolve reach a point where they no longer chase success, they design it. They understand that life doesn't happen to them, it happens through them. Every thought, every choice, every action they take becomes a brushstroke in the masterpiece of their life. This chapter isn't about how toppers study or work, it's about how they live. Because beyond ranks, beyond results, beyond recognition, there lies something deeper, something far more powerful, purposeful living, the moment of awakening. Every topper experiences a moment quiet, subtle, but transformative when they realize that their real competition was never others. It was their own potential. They begin to see life differently. Instead of asking, "What can I get?" they start asking, "What can I become?" This awakening changes everything. They stop reacting and start creating. They stop blaming circumstances and start building opportunities. They stop chasing temporary motivation and start living with lasting meaning. This shift from external pursuit to internal power marks the birth of true freedom. Toppers realize that while they cannot control every situation, they can always control their response, and that response determines their destiny. Success is no longer a reward from the world. It becomes a reflection of who they've become inside. The blueprint of the architect. Every architect starts with a vision, a picture of what doesn't exist yet, but can. Toppers, who live consciously, apply the same principle to their lives. They build their future deliberately, brick by brick, belief by belief. Their first tool is clarity. They ask themselves, what do I want my life to feel like? Not just look like, but feel like. Peaceful, meaningful, impactful. That emotional clarity guides their decisions. Their second tool is alignment. They ensure their actions match their intentions. If they value growth, they keep learning. If they value relationships, they invest time in people. If they value integrity, they make choices that reflect it, even when it's inconvenient. Their third tool is discipline. The architect doesn't wait for inspiration to build. They work daily, knowing that consistency is the bridge between dreams and reality. Toppers understand that you don't stumble into success, you construct it. They plan their days, shape their habits, and design their mindset until excellence becomes their default mode. The power of inner architecture. The greatest construction a person can build isn't outside, it's inside. It's the architecture of the mind, the foundation of character, the walls of discipline, and the windows of vision. Toppers cultivate this inner architecture through daily habits that nourish the soul as much as the mind. They feed their mind with knowledge, their body with energy, and their spirit with reflection. They understand that greatness must be grown, not forced. They also protect their environment, physical, digital, and emotional. Their surroundings reflect their aspirations. Their workspace is clean, their digital feeds are positive, their conversations are meaningful. They know that what surrounds you eventually shapes you. Just as an architect removes unnecessary clutter to make a design elegant, toppers remove unnecessary distractions to make their life powerful. Simplicity becomes their sophistication. The mastery of choice. One of the most profound realizations of a topper is that choice is destiny. Every choice, big or small, is a vote for the person you're becoming. The choice to study or scroll, to reflect or react, to rest or procrastinate, each one builds or breaks your future. Toppers take radical responsibility for their choices. They never say, "I didn't have time." They say, "I didn't make time." That's ownership, and ownership is power. When they fail, they don't blame fate. They dissect their decisions. When they succeed, they don't get arrogant. They analyze what worked. Every event becomes feedback. Every choice becomes data for self-mastery. They live by the truth that while luck can open a door, only discipline can walk you through it. The balance between destiny and design. There's a fine line between destiny and design, and toppers walk it gracefully. They believe in destiny, but not as something written for them, rather as something written by them, one decision at a time. They know that life is a collaboration between effort and energy, between doing and allowing. You must plant the seed, but you must also trust the rain. You must take action, but also have faith in timing. This blend of effort and surrender keeps them both ambitious and peaceful. They chase goals passionately, but never desperately. They dream big, but they detach from results. They give their best, then rest with trust. That calmness in action, that effortless effort, is what makes their energy magnetic. The transformation of fear. In the earlier stages of life, toppers fear failure, judgment, and loss. But as they awaken, their relationship with fear changes completely. They realize that fear is not a stop sign. It's a compass pointing toward growth. Every time they feel fear, they ask, "What is this fear trying to teach me?" Often, it reveals the next step they need to take. The fear of speaking up shows they need confidence. The fear of failing shows they need preparation. The fear of rejection shows they need self-acceptance. Toppers don't wait for fear to disappear before acting, they act with it. They walk through fear so often that it eventually becomes fuel. And in time, courage replaces comfort. They no longer seek easy paths. They choose meaningful ones because they know that comfort zones are beautiful prisons, safe but small. The spiritual dimension of success. The more toppers grow, the more they realize that real success isn't just material, it's spiritual. It's not about having more, it's about being more. It's not about possessions, it's about purpose. They start seeking inner peace as fiercely as they once sought high marks. They understand that true intelligence is not just intellectual, it's emotional, ethical, and spiritual. They learn to live with compassion, to forgive easily, and to help others rise. Their definition of success expands. Not just, "I achieved," but "I evolved." Not just, "I earned," but "I gave." Not just, "I topped," but "I transformed." When they reach this level, every success feels sacred, because it's not just a result, it's a reflection of their growth as a human being. The rise of purposeful influence. By mastering themselves, toppers naturally begin to influence others, not through authority, but through authenticity. People are drawn to their calm energy, their quiet strength, and their depth of character. They become leaders not because they command, but because they embody. Their life itself becomes a message that excellence is possible without ego, that success can be soft-spoken, that greatness can coexist with grace. They mentor, inspire, and guide not for fame, but for fulfillment. They understand that impact is the highest form of achievement. They build legacies, not through wealth, but through wisdom. The art of living consciously. The awakened topper lives consciously, fully aware that every day is a chance to build something beautiful. They don't live on autopilot, drifting from task to task. They live intentionally, designing each day like an architect designs a building with thought, care, and vision. They begin their mornings with gratitude, reminding themselves of how far they've come. They end their nights with reflection, asking, "What did I learn today?" Between those two moments lies a life lived with awareness. Even in small actions, how they speak, listen, or work, there's mindfulness. They've mastered not just time management, but energy management. They give their best energy to what truly matters, and they say no to what doesn't. Their life becomes art, not loud, not rushed, but intentional and deeply fulfilling. The infinite responsibility of freedom. Awakening brings freedom, but freedom comes with responsibility. Once you realize you are the architect of your life, you can no longer blame anyone else for its shape. That truth can feel heavy, but it's liberating. Toppers embrace that responsibility joyfully. They no longer wait for opportunities. They create them. They no longer wait for motivation. They generate it. They no longer seek approval. They build self-respect. And in doing so, they become unstoppable. Because nothing outside can shake a person who is rooted inside. The final awakening. There comes a point when the topper realizes that success, happiness, and peace were never separate destinations. They were parts of the same path. Every challenge, every late-night study session, every failure, and every breakthrough was not just shaping results, it was shaping them. They understand that the real goal was never to be better than others, but to be better for others. Not to be perfect, but to be present. Not to collect achievements, but to create meaning. That's when they awaken not to a new world, but to a new way of seeing the same world. They live now with awareness, gratitude, and grace, knowing that life isn't about reaching the top, but about lifting others while you climb. Your turn to build. You, too, are the architect of your destiny. Every day is a blueprint, every habit, a brick, every decision, a design choice. You can build a life of chaos, or a cathedral of meaning. The tools are already in your hands. So, as you close this final chapter, don't just ask, "What did I learn?" Ask, "What will I create?" Create clarity. Create consistency. Create courage. Create compassion. Because that's what the world truly needs. Not more toppers in exams, but toppers in humanity. People who rise, not by climbing over others, but by lifting them. People who study not just to earn, but to enlighten. People who build success not from competition, but from contribution. That's the ultimate awakening. And when you live like that, when your mind is focused, your heart is open, and your spirit is awake, you don't just become successful. You become limitless. The architect, the creator, the topper of life itself. Chapter 12. The Legacy Within, Living a Life that Echoes Beyond Time. At last, we arrive at the final chapter, not the end of the story, but the beginning of something timeless. Because true success, true mastery, and true greatness never end. They ripple outward, echoing long after the noise of achievements has faded. This is the chapter where the journey turns inward once more, where the student becomes the sage, the achiever becomes the guide, and success transforms into legacy. The world often measures greatness by what you accumulate: titles, money, recognition. But toppers, the ones who've walked the full circle of growth, measure greatness differently. They measure it by impact, by the lives they've touched, the kindness they've shown, the ideas they've shared, and the hope they've sparked. Because in the end, the only legacy that lasts is the one that lives inside others. The shift from achievement to contribution. When toppers reach a point of mastery after the exams, the careers, the milestones, something extraordinary happens. The hunger to achieve transforms into a desire to contribute. They start asking bigger questions. What am I giving back? How can my success serve others? At that stage, the trophies on their shelves matter less than the lives they help uplift. The grades fade, but the gratitude they inspire stays forever. They no longer chase personal wins. They chase collective growth. They begin to understand that greatness multiplies when shared. True toppers become givers. Some mentor students. Some create innovations that make life better. Some build schools, startups, or communities. Others spread wisdom quietly through their actions, their example, or even a single word that stays in someone's heart. Every topper leaves a fingerprint on the world, not through what they take, but through what they leave behind. The power of invisible influence. You see, legacy isn't always loud. It doesn't always wear a medal or stand on a stage. Some of the greatest legacies are invisible. A teacher's encouragement that sparked a dream, a friend's advice that saved someone's confidence, a parent's belief that gave a child courage. Toppers understand that every word, every act, every gesture carries energy, and that energy can shape another person's life. So they choose their actions carefully. They speak with kindness, they lead with integrity, and they act with awareness. Their presence becomes powerful not because of what they do, but because of who they are. People feel stronger around them, calmer, more hopeful, as if being in their presence reminds others of their own potential. That is the essence of legacy, inspiring greatness without even trying to impress. The circle of growth. Toppers often say, "The more I teach, the more I learn." And that's the beautiful truth of life, the circle of growth. When you help someone else rise, you rise too. When you share your knowledge, it deepens. When you mentor, you master. That's why many toppers turn to teaching, leadership, or mentorship at some point. Not because they want to be superior, but because they feel called to continue the cycle. The knowledge they once fought hard to gain becomes a light they now pass forward. And in that act of giving, they find a joy greater than any personal achievement, the joy of seeing others grow because of something they shared. They realize that every generation of learners stands on the shoulders of the ones who came before, and they take pride in becoming those shoulders, the strong foundation for others to climb higher. The inner legacy, the person you become. There are two types of legacies: the one the world remembers, and the one you live every day. The inner legacy is the sum of your character, your discipline, your kindness, and your courage. It's who you become when no one's watching. Toppers focus deeply on this inner legacy. They know that a person can achieve everything externally, but still feel empty if they've neglected their inner world. So they cultivate virtues that outlast time: humility, gratitude, patience, empathy, and integrity. They practice being the same person in private as they are in public. Their inner peace becomes their outer power. Their character becomes their compass. This inner legacy shapes every choice they make. They refuse shortcuts, not because anyone's watching, but because they're accountable to themselves. They forgive easily, not because people deserve it, but because peace matters more than pride. The world may forget your marks and medals, but it never forgets your character. The ripple effect of kindness. There's a saying, one candle can light 1,000 others without losing its flame. That's how toppers live in their later chapters as candles. They know that every act of kindness has a ripple effect beyond imagination. A word of encouragement can change a career. A small gesture can restore someone's faith. A simple example can inspire generations. Toppers live intentionally aware that their words and actions are seeds. They plant good ones, knowing that even if they never see the tree, someone else will sit under its shade. Their legacy, therefore, isn't just in what they achieve. It's in the hope they sow in others. The lesson of detachment. Ironically, one of the most profound lessons toppers learn near the peak of their journey is detachment. They realize that no matter how hard you work, everything external is temporary. Fame, fortune, success, even recognition. But what you become through the process that lasts forever. So they stop clinging to results and start flowing with life. They enjoy success, but don't depend on it. They face failure, but don't define themselves by it. They know that everything in life is transient, and that's what makes it beautiful. This detachment gives them peace. It frees them from comparison, from pressure, from the constant chase. They no longer run after life. They move with it, gracefully. And this grace is what makes their presence magnetic. While others rush, toppers radiate calm. While others crave validation, toppers embody confidence. They become the stillness in a noisy world. The return to simplicity and gratitude. After a lifetime of striving, toppers come full circle back to simplicity. They find beauty in the small things: a morning sunrise, a quiet cup of tea, a student's smile, a heartfelt thank you. They realize that life's true treasures were never in the future. They were always in the present. Gratitude becomes their natural state. They wake up grateful for opportunities, for challenges, for the privilege of growth. This gratitude makes them generous. They give not to impress, but to express appreciation for the life that gave them so much. Toppers at this stage don't seek more, they seek meaning. They don't chase everything, they cherish enough. And in that simplicity, they discover what most people spend a lifetime searching for: contentment. Building a legacy that breathes. A legacy is not built in stone monuments or history books. It's built in people. It lives in stories, values, and memories. You build your legacy every day in how you treat people, in how you show up when things get hard, in how you make others feel. The way you handle your success, your setbacks, your emotions, all of it becomes part of the story you leave behind. Toppers understand this deeply. They know that legacy is not something you leave after life. It's something you build during life. It's in every choice, every action, every relationship. So they live with awareness, not perfection. They make mistakes, but they learn. They fall, but they rise. And every rise adds to the legacy of their resilience. The infinite continuation. One day, long after the topper is gone, their influence continues. A student they once encouraged becomes a teacher. A person they once inspired goes on to change the world. A story they once told lives on in someone else's heart. That's the beauty of legacy. It doesn't end when life ends. It continues, quietly, invisibly, eternally. You may not realize it now, but every effort you make today, every late night of study, every kind word, every moment of discipline is contributing to your legacy. You are already shaping it, moment by moment. The question is not whether you'll leave a legacy. You will. The question is, what kind of legacy will it be? The eternal truth. At the heart of every topper's journey lies one eternal truth. Greatness is not a peak you reach, but a light you kindle. And once lit, it doesn't belong to you alone. It belongs to everyone it touches. That's what makes your story matter. Not your score, not your success, but your spirit. The way you rise, the way you love, the way you give. Those are the true marks of a life well lived. So as you close this audiobook, remember this. Your journey is not about becoming a topper in the world's eyes. It's about awakening the topper within yourself. The part of you that refuses to settle, that believes, that grows, that gives. Live in a way that your actions speak long after your voice is silent. Live so that your presence becomes a blessing and your absence an inspiration. That is your legacy. And that is how toppers, the true toppers, live forever. And so, we come to the end of this audiobook, but not to the end of your journey. Because if there's one truth that echoes through every chapter, it's this: there is no final chapter in the story of growth. The way toppers think, plan, and succeed isn't just about exams, goals, or achievements. It's a philosophy, a way of living, a way of seeing the world. It's about realizing that every day offers two paths: to repeat who you were yesterday, or to rise into who you can become today. You've discovered how toppers master their mindset, focus on clarity, stay consistent, learn from failure, and lead with purpose. But more importantly, you've seen that what makes them extraordinary is not talent, luck, or genius. It's self-awareness, persistence, and belief. The topper's journey is not about perfection. It's about progress. It's about showing up even when no one's watching, believing when no one else does, and growing even when it's uncomfortable. And now, that journey belongs to you. As you step forward from this moment, remember that success isn't out there waiting for you. It's already within you, waiting to be realized. Every dream you have, every goal you set, every challenge you face, they are all invitations for you to rise a little higher, think a little deeper, and become a little stronger. Carry this mindset wherever life takes you. When the world doubts you, let your discipline speak. When fear whispers, let your courage answer. When failure arrives, let resilience lead you back up. And when success comes, let humility keep you grounded. Because the true topper isn't the one who finishes first, it's the one who never stops becoming. So go ahead, dream boldly, work quietly, rise consistently. Build your life with the same focus, faith, and fire that define the greatest minds. And when your story is told someday, may it not just be remembered for how high you climbed, but for how deeply you inspired others to climb with you. The exam of life never ends. The lessons never stop. And the journey, your journey, is only just beginning. Keep learning, keep growing, keep rising. Because the world doesn't need more toppers in classrooms. It needs toppers in life.